I want the ladies to be aware of this, and I want you to keep being yourself. The right guy will stay with you. He will love you as you are. As you are is good enough.
Introducing The Vixen Voice, a podcast for ambitious women entrepreneurs ready to move into their feminine essence, live their truth, and unlock their full potential. I'm your host, April Roberts, and each week I'll be interviewing inspiring women who decided to take a leap of faith to pursue their dream. Women who believe that they were born for something bigger. Hey there, just popping in quickly. It's April Roberts, and I wanted to thank you for being a loyal listener of the Vixen Voice. It means so much to me. And because of that, we're going to be popping in these little announcements because I want you to be the first to know what's going on at the Vixen Gathering. So if you haven't done so yet, click the link below and check out the Vixen Founders Collective. The members who are already in are raving, and we would love to have you join us in the ultimate business consulting, networking, and personal growth community for Gen X female founders. See you there. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Vixen Voice. Today is going to be fun because we have Natalia Hart with us. She is a certified dating and relationship coach, helping women to unlock confidence, security, and relational intelligence. I love that term. To finally find and create true, lasting love with a high value man. So, we're going to dig into what all of this means. But I thought this would be a fun and enlightening episode. And the amazing thing is, obviously, Natalia's an entrepreneur and she's owned multiple businesses. So we're going to chat with her about her expertise in dating and relationships and also as a business owner. And by the way, if you're happily married and you already have your Prince Charming, do not turn us off, because remember, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about feminine energy and entrepreneurship. So stay tuned. So Natalia, welcome. So excited to have you today.
Hi, April. Thank you so much. That was such a great introduction. Thank you. I'm honored to be here and ready to serve.
I love it. So since it's your first time on the Vixen Voice, what I'd love to do is kind of dig in and get to know you better. So one of my favorite questions to ask is, really kind of at this stage of life, we women are very multidimensional, right? We've kind of lived a couple of lives. So I love to hear what is like a pivotal moment in your life that comes to you either intuitively or relative to our conversation that you feel really helps shape like this amazing multidimensional woman that we're talking to today.
I would say the biggest moment in my life was when I moved from Argentina. I was 27 years old. I
Wow.
didn't speak English. I had $750 in my pocket and no friends, and I moved to the States. And that was incredible. It was number one, the best thing I could have ever done for
Oh, I
myself
love it.
at so many levels. But what I want to highlight right now is that personal level. I came here being somebody. I had an identity. I had a group of people. I was well known in my group of people. And, I was respected and I was an intellectual and I had an identity. And then, boom, I'm here and I can't even speak the language. So it was fantastic because it gave me an opportunity to really get to know who I was when I could be anybody I wanted. There were no restrictions on about what kind of woman I wanted to be, what kind of things I wanted to do. Nobody knew me. And on top of that, I was really tight on resources. So I could have gone any direction. And I just loved seeing myself almost from outside, like an out of body experience, being so compassionate, being so generous, being so having integrity and doing the right thing, even when sometimes doing the wrong thing was going to give me a lot more ROI, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a fantastic experience because I really, really got to see my true colors,
Mm-hmm.
and I just fell in love with myself, and it was amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And there's so much I want to unpack. First of all, I love that you said I fell in love with myself because self love is so important and it is so combated, I want to say, in today's world, especially for women in the West. I'm not sure what's going on, and maybe women everywhere, right? But, we're not supposed to love ourselves, and yet it's the most important thing we can do. So I love that you said you fell in love with yourself. Also, I moved to Italy at 27. So I moved because I married an Italian. So a little different situation, but same thing. I was an attorney making six figures, driving my convertible Mercedes in the US, and suddenly I go there, no one will hire me, like I can't get a job. And I'd always been like, what's next in my life? And then that's a whole new experience to be like, okay, there kind of is no next, other than me being a housewife with no children and learning how to cook Italian food, which, by the way, I cook a mean bolognese. So, but it's interesting because my experience wasn't. I love how positive you are. Like I adore my time in Italy, and I don't get to share that with many people because my ex battled addiction. So a lot of times that's the story. But I had the most
Oh,
beautiful friends in Italy, and just like you said, having that moment where there's this void, and cooking dinner and having friends. I remember one day my best friend, I went to her house and we spent all day cooking pesto. Like we picked the basil out of our yard, we drank wine and made pesto, and we just had the best day ever. And that was not the life I had known as a high-powered attorney, right? So it's like these magical moments that you get to experience. So I love that.
oh, I love it. I love it. Yes, it seems like you got to reconnect with the simplicity of life and
Yes.
how beautiful it is just to be present and maybe chopping the basil and drizzling the olive oil, and all that is feminine energy. That's what really,
Yes.
really makes us feel good as women, because it's about enjoying the moment, being creative, being nurturing, creating something beautiful out of some bare scratch elements, and sharing it with people. And that's when feminine energy women feel really, really connected to who we are. So it's
Yeah.
beautiful. I like that you got to do that.
Yes, it was a beautiful experience. I love how you explain the feminine energy because as I shared with you before you came on, both of us use the concept of feminine energy or coach on it in our business. You for dating, me for helping women balance business and life better, right? So, I'd love to dig in a little deeper. When I know you were sharing with me that there are feminine energy principles for love. So, share with us a little bit about that, Natalia.
Well, the in my dating coaching program, there are different points that we work on, and I like to say that the underlying energy is the feminine energy. So that's the energy that we bring to dating and relationships. And there are many ways of dating that work, and there are many ways of dating that don't work. And so the first thing that I usually ask women when they want to get coach or they want to pick my brain is, what do you really want? It
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of, have you watched that series on Netflix with the devil, what's his name, Lucifer?
Oh,
Have you
I
watched it?
haven't. No,
No,
but
it's a very good series on Netflix, and Lucifer, he's the devil, and that's how he gets people. It's like, what do you really want? And every time I say that, it reminds me of that. So, what do you really want in your clearest moments, when you are grounded, when you are present, when you are in touch with your
mm-hmm.
body? and you're really, really being you, the clearest you, the mature you, what do you really, really want? Primarily, and let's put emphasis on this word, okay? Primarily, do you want to be respected for your ideas, for your way of doing things, for your logic, or you want to be cherished for who you are as a woman, for your emotions, for your feelings, for your creative energy, for your beauty? That's the first question that I ask, because that question will clearly tell me if that woman is mostly on her feminine energy when it comes to relationships, or on her feminine, on masculine or feminine energy.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
if the most, all of them so far I have answered, I want to be primarily cherished. I don't want to be doing
Yes.
all the doing, all the in the relationship. This is not about work.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do want that, the first thing we need to embrace is that a masculine energy man is going to be the right fit for them.
Yes.
And there is
Love
a
it.
law called the law of polarity that expresses that feminine energy and masculine energy are like magnets. For a relationship to really, really thrive, and for women to finally feel relaxed and at peace and just, letting it go, having that soft place to land when we go home after working all day,
Oh,
for
yeah.
us to get all of that, we have to choose to embrace our feminine energy and allow the man to be in his masculine energy. That way we are the perfect fit. Now, as I said before, the word primarily is really important, because I don't want any of the ladies to just stop listening right now, because it's not all the time. Of course, over
Mm-hmm.
time, you find your own groove, and there are times if that you will need to be in your masculine energy in the relationship, but it's primarily on the everyday things.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that look like? It looks like having an positive assumption. So, assuming that that guy has a good intent, a positive
Mm-hmm.
intent, that even if it doesn't make sense to us, he has a good reason why he is doing what he is doing.
Yes.
And from that place, it opens up a more compassionate way of relating to him, a more curious way of relating to him, rather than jumping into conclusions. So that's
Mm.
another one of the feminine energy character traits.
I
It's
love
being
that.
curious.
Often you find it sooner. I think when I see this in my friends, I'm not married, when they have kids, they both have businesses and there's a lot going on, right? This falls to the
Right.
wayside. And then I also see it like with my parents as a couple ages. You know, my parents have been together, they're 74 and 75 and they've been together since they were 16 and 18. So it's so interesting. That's why I think this is such a great conversation, because you might start the relationship in this way, but life circumstances change, right? Or, like with my parents, they're both dealing with health issues now. And so sometimes my mom has to be the masculine energy in the situation, and then sometimes my dad is. And so you have to renegotiate these terms. That's why I feel like understanding these basics is so important no matter where you are in your relationship.
Absolutely. I really loved what you said, and that you mentioned your parents, because actually the foundation of the feminine energy and the masculine energy, it's based on hormones. It's based on
Yes.
estrogen and testosterone. So that changes. When we
Mm-hmm.
are 15 to 26, 28, we are full of hormones. It's like
Yeah.
women, we are at our biological prime when we are 22 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
men also are full of testosterone. Now, as we start aging, testosterone drops, and estrogen drops. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very different to relate to a man when we are on our 20s than when we are
Yeah.
on our 30s, than when we are on our 40s and 70s. Completely different
Mm-hmm.
because our biology changes. So our needs change
Love
and
it.
our ways of relating changes. So when we get older and older and older, there is more of a very, very, very solid friendship where you
I
pretty
love it.
much have been through all of it and you are just seeing each other at the eyes, and with every single gaze you're saying, I accept you, you are it, that's it. We are two bodies in one soul. But it's very, very different
Beautiful.
when we are 20. So there is a difference. It's a very good thing that you mentioned that.
So I love this point because I think, predominantly our audience is 30, 40, 50 something. And so that is a whole different area. And I shared with you, we did an episode about dating over 40, which the two guests and I just laughed the whole time. Like we just told stories about it on ourselves and laughed. So I don't know how helpful it was, but it was entertaining. So I'm so curious, if anyone's listening, and I mean, I'm single, like how does this hormone balance change at this point? Because, in my Vixen Founders Collective, I mean, I remember one day a member said, oh, something, yeah, perimenopause, I'm a little obsessed, but we shouldn't talk about this here. And I'm like, we talk about it all the time because, it's different running a business as a woman in your 40s or 50s versus in your 20s. I remember being a lawyer in my 20s and being at work till 2 or 3 in the morning wasn't that big a deal. Like, there is no way right now that I would work till 2 or 3 in the morning. Like, I have zero desire. And, it's a different time in life. But quite honestly, I don't think I have the energy or enough adrenaline in my body to pull that off and function the next day. So let's talk about maybe anyone listening who's dating. Like, how do they need to adjust as their hormones change, as we're going into perimenopause and menopause? How might that adjust this feminine energy for dating? Or what would you recommend to a client?
Well, that's a great, great question. And it's very deep and it's very nuanced.
I know.
And I'm going to try to give a general
Okay.
idea just to help the ladies a little bit. So what I hear is you're talking about, let's define our mystery woman here.
Yeah,
She's
sounds good.
40 years old and older,
Yep.
and she's single, and she wants to get married. Is that the
Go for
situation?
it.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so in that situation, what is important to know is that at that age, if she's 40, 50, let's say, she probably doesn't want to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
She has kids of her own. So
Mm-hmm.
that is very, very, very important because a woman on her 20s and early 30s, they want to get married and have babies. My clients,
Mm-hmm.
at least. I coach for marriage, so I don't coach
Mm-hmm.
dating for fun or hookups. The
Yeah, I
women
love
that
it.
hire me are very clear that and they have to be because that's the kind of coaching I do. I help them
Mm-hmm.
to get married or the equivalent of marriage
Mm-hmm.
if they don't want to sign the paper. So that's the first thing, is to be clear about the phase that she is in her life. How does she want to live her life? How is this man going to enhance her life? And vice versa, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But so she probably doesn't want to have any more kids. So that is
Mm-hmm.
very, very important. That is very, very important in the decision
Yes.
making because she's gonna be choosing a different kind of man than when she was in her
Mm-hmm.
20s that she wanted to have kids. So also probably I will guess that at that age she's financially independent.
Mm-hmm.
She probably has her own owns property. Most
Mm-hmm.
women right now, 2024, we are buying property more and more than men do.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reality is changing a lot. We are getting more and more powerful, more and more independent. So That makes a big difference because what the kind of man she's going to want is going to be totally different than when she was younger.
That's
She
true.
needs to be clear about that. What does she want? How does she want to feel with this man? How is this potential man going to enhance her life? And
Hmm.
what is love for her at that age? What it means to her to feel
Hmm.
loved. It means that he is taking her for trips, that they're going on trips together. It means that they are living together and he's affectionate. It means that he's, doing things for her, helping her with chores and, the honey-do list. Does it mean for her to be loved? So there is
Hmm.
a lot of clarity that she has to have and be very aware that what she needs at that age is very different than when she was younger. And also her libido. I think this
Hmm.
is very, very important to know and it's not talked enough that
Hmm.
what kind of sexual life she wants to have. There is
Hmm.
a reality, unfortunately, that some men, once they get older, they give up on sex. I
Hmm.
don't know if we are allowed to say that word here.
Oh, go
Sometimes
for
we
it.
get.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is very, very important
Hmm.
to have that conversation. How many times a week?
Hmm.
How many times a month? I don't know. It's up to them. But it's very, very important to have that
Yeah.
conversation. Also with kids, because if she's 40, there is a chance that her kids are going to be 10, between 10 and 15, maybe
Hmm.
8.
Hmm.
So, how is this potential new husband going to be integrated on that? Does she want to does she want him to be involved in the decision making for the kids? Does she
Hmm.
want him to talk to the kid and give the kid direction and advice and also discipline the kid?
Yeah.
Huh. So it's a completely different set of questions that a woman will
Hmm.
have when she is in her late 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
And those are really, really important.
I agree. And I would argue that the libido question is even important in your 20s. Because I just remember
Yes,
having
it is.
experiences where it doesn't match up, and that can be a really bad situation, right? Or uncomfortable situation. So,
They
yes.
are all important. Even the question about kids, parenting
Yes.
styles and all that. It's really, really important at any age.
Yes.
Anytime committing ourselves to a man for the rest of our lives, it's a
Hmm.
huge thing. As
Yes.
women, is one of the most important things that we are ever going to do. The most
I
important is
agree.
probably having kids if we want to have kids. This being second. Is one of the most important relationships we are going to have as adults.
Hmm.
So it's really, really important to get into that relationship with I call it with the eyes wide open, and yes, having the right questions in the background. They're not sexy questions, but
No.
they are very, very important because otherwise, if we don't do that, we find ourselves 6 years later, 5 years later, married to a man that is disciplining our kids in a way that we don't agree, or he's
Hmm.
hypercritical to them, and that is breaking our heart. And then we have to make a choice. Do I want to choose my kids? Do I want to choose my husband? It's a situation that can be easily avoided or at least minimized when you have an agreement before. Relationships are a lot about negotiating and having
Hmm.
agreements that work for both of us. It's not only about the chemistry and the butterflies, and it goes deeper than that. The chemistry, the attraction has to be there, but at the end of the day, what is really, really going to allow us as women to relax and to be in the moment is to feel safe.
Hmm.
And if we don't feel safe, we instinctively are going to create a barrier. It's just normal, it's totally normal. And when we create that barrier, we create distance and we are not connecting. Intimacy hurts and he starts to shut down, and it's a vicious circle. So it's really important that we, as women, that we make sure that we feel safe, and so we can remain open and curious, and we can keep receiving from the masculine, which is so important for the masculine. They want to
Mhm.
protect us and provide and please us. That's how they feel that they are winning. And if they don't feel that they're winning, they don't feel good about themselves. They don't want to do
Yeah.
more. So it's an ebb and flow. For women, it's all about feeling safe. We need to
Mhm.
feel safe. And for men, it's all about feeling like they are winning, that they are making us happy.
Yeah. No, I think this is such an important conversation. Thank you so much. And not often had. So I think it's incredibly important. You know, we went through a phase where women didn't want to admit that they needed to feel safe or wanted to feel safe and protected. And, you know, for me, that was always the biggest thing because I always had my own business. I did well. And so it's like, okay, well, I like to feel very feminine around the man and I like to feel safe. And you know if you feel safe because you sleep better. It's really funny. You just like sleep through the night. You don't wake up. There's little things that it just the energy shifts and it's so nice. So, thank you for sharing all of that. Like I said, I just don't think it's talked about enough. So, I love what you do and it's so important. So, Natalia, what are like maybe some common pitfalls that the women you work with? What are some mistakes they're making in dating, and like how do you help them shift that?
I will mention there is a time in the relationship, in the dating relationship, that is very, very dangerous for women. So I would like to address that because I
Please.
think it's the most important thing that I can talk about today. So, in my experience, I went on 200 dates, 200 first dates in 2 years
Oh
before I
my
met my now.
goodness. I
So
love
I
it.
do have a lot of experience. I went through the process. I took myself through the process. So I know this by my own experience and by
Yeah.
the hundreds of women I have coached. So usually we go on dates and we really don't meet anybody that we click. You know, the guys that are into us, we are not into them. And the guys that we like, they are not into us. You know, I tell my ladies, he has to be the right guy and he has to be ready. So he's either the right and not ready, or he's ready and is not the right one. So it's a matter of finding the one that has those two things. So we go through that, and it feels like, we are going through the desert and there is no water, and we are so thirsty and we just want water. And and then we meet a guy, and he's the
Hmm.
right guy, and he's ready. So we get all excited and we forget about everything we know. We get
Yes.
totally, totally excited and we forget about the things that we are supposed to be doing at the beginning of dating. Like, seeing if we are on the same page,
Hmm.
paying attention to possible red flags. And we also do something that we, with all my love and compassion, we kind of overdo it.
Yep.
We are all about overdoing it. We want to see him all the time. We want to call him all the time. We just overdo it. It's not a version of ourselves that we can steadily keep supporting,
Not
sustaining
sustainable. Yes.
over time. So, and he feels that. And for a high value man, somebody that is the right and it's ready and is healthy and wants to build a castle with us, that is a little bit of a turn off.
Mm,
So that I believe is one of the main mistakes is that moment when we meet the guy that we really, really like and we become this person that you don't even recognize in the mirror because you start to obsess about him, thinking about him all the time. Everything, we are always there available. We cancel
mhm.
plans with friends and family to be with him. We don't go, we just focused on him.
Yeah.
So I want the ladies to be aware of this, and I want you to keep being yourself.
Mhm.
The right guy will stay with you. He will love you as you are. As you are is good enough, and be very mindful of falling into this trap. So that's one of the main mistakes that they make. And it's not a mistake. I wouldn't say it's a mistake. It's just what it is. I don't like to call them mistakes. I think they're all learning opportunities.
No, I love that. And it's a great point. And, on the opposite end, what was interesting was when I was younger and dating and I owned a business. And so usually I was going from the office to dates. And, I had girlfriends that were like, I hate dating. I'm like, why do you hate dating? If there's an interesting man and he wants to take you to dinner, it's fun. Like, look pretty, go to dinner. But I think everyone views things differently, right? But what would happen with me is because I had an appointment based business, if I did meet someone and we wanted to go forward, it would take 2 to 3 weeks till I could even work them in my schedule because the schedule was planned out for 2 to 3 weeks. And like you said, you have to find the right guy, right? Because a lot of times men would be like they would be offended that I didn't have more time for them at the beginning. So if you're working with a younger woman who, is in the heat of her career or owns a business or even, has children, like how would you recommend they handle that situation? Is that just not the right person for them, or could they handle it in a different way that might make it easier?
That's a great question. And in that case, you won't like the answer,
I bet. But
unfortunately.
please tell us.
So let's first give a little bit of context so I don't sound
Yes,
so blunt. Uh, I'm a very direct person. It's the kind of coach I am. I should
I
say it
love
as
it.
it is. So, intimacy. We are talking
Yeah.
about relationships. We are talking about intimacy. We are talking about investing a certain amount of time that if you do
Mm-hmm.
it right, my clients find their forever husband in about 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take them longer than that. So it's about investing about certain amount of, that's what you're doing. You are like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm ready. I want to get married. I want to create a family. I want to create legacy that way. I'm going to invest time, energy, and resources into that. So there
Mm-hmm.
has to be a decision. This is not just dating for willy nilly. If
Right.
you go and say one day you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm going to start dating and da-da-da, and of course it's going to be super complicated because you have a life. And if you are
Mm-hmm.
like most of my clients, successful professionals, go get it, women,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work. So the first thing you need to know is be clear of what you are
Mm-hmm.
looking for and the magnitude of it and be excited about that. The problem is that most women don't get excited about that. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go dating. Wah, wah, wah. They
Yeah.
don't get excited. So that's hence
I know that's crazy.
they not having time, the da 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 da.
Yeah.
If I had told you back then, April, I need you to be here in New York tomorrow morning at 8 because I have $5 million tax free for you. What would you have done?
I would have managed it.
You would have.
Yeah.
Thank you for the honesty. You would have. So the truth of the matter is that there is for to create this amazing relationship with a man, It
Mhm.
requires to create intimacy with the man. And for
Mhm.
that, to create intimacy requires time.
Mhm.
So women that don't have time, that don't have time, really the underlying issue is fear of intimacy.
Mhm.
So first we need to heal that.
Mhm.
And that's the work I do. The work I
I
do
love
is
it.
helping them heal, to be confident, to be secure, and to know that, to get rid of all those fears, to be ready. She also
Mhm.
has to be the right one and the ready one, as much as he
Yes.
is. And that's something that a lot of women, unfortunately, are not cognizant. It's a blind
Mhm.
spot. And it's a blind spot. So they don't see it
Mhm.
and they think they're ready when
Yeah.
actually they come to the table with a ton of fears, limiting beliefs, and all that creates reasons why. I'm busy, I'm working too much, this and that. So that is my answer.
Mhm.
Creating intimacy with a man and creating a relationship with a man takes time. If
Yep.
you buy a car, you know you are also buying traffic jams. It comes with the terrain.
Yeah.
So everything in life has a trade off.
Yeah.
There is not such a thing as getting something for nothing.
No, 100%. And I love this because I have to give a shout out to my best friend. She's been married, I mean, they've been married for a long time now, but I remember when she first started dating and she decided she wanted a husband. I was like, wow, dating's like your second job. And she was like, yep. Like she had her spreadsheets and everything. But she has an
Right?
extremely strong marriage and he's a great father and he's one of my best friends.
Right.
Like I love him too. And, she did that. She invested that time and now she has her business and she has kids and she has a husband and she can do it all. So I do love that point. And to your point, when I was younger, because of the situation with my divorce, I hadn't healed from that. And I'm sure I
Yes,
was putting up boundaries because I felt like I did have this great love and because of addiction problems and stuff.
I
So
know.
luckily I have worked to heal myself, but it does take time. I mean, it does. And then you're ready and
It
you're like, oh,
does.
this is great and wonderful.
And we think we are so ready. I remember with my first husband,
Yeah.
I found him cheating in my house with another
Mm,
woman. And I never thought somebody would cheat on me. I never, that wasn't so. It
yeah.
was a total surprise to me, whatever. So I divorced him and I did all the work and I thought I
Mm-hmm.
was totally healed. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was, because I had done the work for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I met my husband, the one I have now, that we have been together for over 15 years, happily married, and it showed up.
Yeah.
I was still afraid that he was going to cheat on me. Even though
Mm-hmm.
before being cheated on, I never thought about it. I never had that fear. So it was a
Yeah.
traumatic event that created a dent in my psychic structure.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I tried to heal it, there are relationships. That's why I call relationships are the perfect dojo for healing, because
Yes.
relationship will trigger the deep. It's like that little piece of not healed that you have there that is hidden. It will
Yeah.
pop up, and that's beautiful. We get to heal, and that's,
Yeah.
I believe, that's one of the reasons why relationships are so awesome and we
Mm-hmm.
blossom and we really really get to make the world a better place when we are in a relationship with the right man. It's because
Yeah.
we get to see it all and heal it and love it and just accept it, and it's so beautiful, and we are really really, we really we come alive.
Yeah.
So yes, I hope that example helped you.
I love that, and it's so funny because I just drove back from Houston to Nashville, and I had planned to listen to a book on sales, like because I used that time to listen to audiobooks, and I hit the wrong button, and up popped like conversations with God, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what you want me to listen to on the ride back, fine. So I listened. It's a very like it's a multiple volume work, and yesterday I was listening, and it was talking about how relationships are one of the greatest opportunities for spiritual growth, for exactly what you're talking about. How, like, we can decide how we want to show up in that moment and who our highest self is. And it was a really beautiful concept. So, again, like I said, the work you're doing is so important. Thank you so much. I do the work I do to help women, love themselves. I'm a business coach, but it's really to help women love themselves and love others deeper and really have no fear. I'm very passionate about eradicating fear, and that's a lot of the work you're doing too. And I want to pause for a second because you shared your story, and we do like to be real on this podcast because if a woman's listening and maybe she's still struggling with this, like, let's pause and hear that you talked about how healing takes so long. And I can share, I got divorced at 32. I'm now 48. And I shared with you, I do spiritual healing. And so when we're training for spiritual healing, we're getting healed at the same time. And
Right.
so just this year, I thought I was like, fine. My divorce was past me. I was all good. Like, I've been having work done since like 2019. I thought it was all gone. We did a certain healing, and my friend had to hold me up. Like, I completely collapsed. Our teacher was like, you have to go back to this period in time. You're holding on to something. And I realized I hadn't forgiven myself for the situation, even though my husband had an addiction. Like, I was still holding something. And it was amazing. I'm like, how is this, literally 15 years later, and there's still this peace. And then when it's gone, you feel so free. So I just want to encourage, if anyone's listening, like, give yourself grace and love. Like, as you said, it continues to bubble up. And when you do find the right person, things are going to bubble up. So grace and love for yourself is so important. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I just think it's super important to be real about these things because we live in a highlight reel world, and that's not how we imperfect human beings really live.
Right. Right.
Awesome. Well, Natalia,
Absolutely.
I hate that we're out of time because this has been
Oh,
fascinating, and I know you have so much more wisdom to share. But I always ask my new guests, so you'll like this question. When do you feel like you're in your feminine energy the most? Like, when is it really flowing for you? Is there an activity or a situation?
I actually try to integrate it in my life because as an
Nice.
entrepreneur, I live a very busy life. We work every
Yes.
day pretty much. But I integrate it into my life. So if I am doing the dishes, I just tell myself, stop and notice. That's how I bring myself back. And I notice how am I doing the dishes and I feel the suds on my hands. If I am walking around and I feel like I am like, ta, ta, like I am a
Yeah.
machine pretty much, I'm like, okay, stop and notice. And I start, walking slower. I also have a hack that I use. I wear a lot of dresses or skirts. I am very athletic. I am a runner. I'm a very accomplished athlete. So it's easy for me to put the running shoes and the running shorts and walk around like that. So I do make a conscious effort that I get rid in my closet of anything that is pants or that makes me feel masculine. And I wear a lot of dresses. So when I am wearing my dresses, I just focus on, between our legs, how unless you are Barbie doll, and some women are, but our thighs.
Rob, yeah.
I focus on that. I walk and I focus on
Ah,
the rubbing. And that reminds me, that feels good. Rather
I
than
love it.
repelling it, because I shouldn't have that, I embrace it. And so I wear dresses and I try to integrate it in my life as much as I can. And then some things that I do, of course, I take baths. I have, you know, candles and
I
flowers
have my
and
candle going.
everything. I wear pink pearls. Everything is pink. I just have my look at my cup. It's so cute.
Beautiful.
So you know, I surround myself with it because it's very easy as a go-getter,
Hmm.
goal-oriented, getting results done kind of woman to be in our masculine energy. But I
Yes.
I do make an effort to slow down. The feminine energy, it's slower. To me,
Hmm.
it made a huge difference just to remind myself, okay, stop, notice, slow down, and just
Yeah.
do everything the same, but just a notch slower.
I love that because that's an easy tip that our listeners can integrate into their lives. So thank you so much. And then I love to ask, what color is your feminine energy?
It's pink.
Perfect.
Yes, totally, totally pink.
Love it.
Love it.
Well, Natalia, as we're wrapping up, I'm sure we have listeners listening. Share with them how, of course, in the show notes, if you're listening, you'll have all of Natalia's contact information, her generous offer that she's about to share with us. And so please follow her and connect. And if you haven't done so, just go to vixengathering.com/podcast and hit subscribe. And if you share with us your email address, you will get all of these amazing resources every Tuesday and Thursday. So on this episode, for example, when you fell in love with Natalia and you want to know more, it would be in your inbox and you could just connect. So go there and subscribe. But what is an easy way that our listeners can follow you or get in touch? And what is a great program or something you have going on now if we have a listener who is looking for that high value man and really wants the help in getting married?
Well, I'm feeling very generous today. It's 6 a.m. here, so so for your audience, for the ladies that would like to learn more about dating, relationships, feminine energy, that would like to get some practical steps, I am going to be giving a free 30-minute private coaching
Hmm.
session with me. And to take advantage of that, they have to go to my website, nataliahartcoaching.com, and just go to contact and contact me through there. And just tell me that you are coming from April, and I will take care of you. We'll get on a Zoom call.
I love it.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Natalia. Before we hop off, any last words for our listeners?
My last word is keep choosing love.
Mm,
The choice is always love or fear.
yes.
Fear looks like a friend, but it's a con. It's actually keeping us from everything we want. So don't fall on that trap. Keep choosing love over fear. What would a what would a woman that is full of love do in this situation? Keep
Mm.
choosing love.
I love that. So if you're an ongoing listener, you know that my message always is the world needs more love. So I can't say it any better than what Natalia just shared. So we are going to end this episode with her words of advice because I am in total agreement. So oh my goodness, Natalia, I could talk to you for another hour or
We
two.
are
Thank
like
you so much.
twinsies.
Thank you so
We
much for
could
your
be twins.
generosity today and for loving on our audience. I love your wisdom. I love the important conversations you're having. So please keep it up and we will support you in every way we can.
Oh, thank you so much. I love that you are a ray of light. You have a huge heart. And thank you for doing this for the ladies. I love it. Love it that you help them with their business and using the feminine energy and also spirituality. It's so important. We are not fragments, we are bigger than the whole. So I really like that you have a holistic approach. Very, very much needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Have a great day. And for everyone listening, I will remember again the world needs more love, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so future episodes are automatically downloaded directly to your device. And if you want access to today's show notes, including links to all the resources we mentioned, visit vixengathering.com/podcast. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week for another episode of The Vixen Voice.